So we are about to shift into our next presenters here. We heard a little bit from the Cello team during like the opening ceremonies. The focus here is going to be more on the mobile side of things, and mobile really poses an interesting challenge. How do you extend the functionality of blockchains and the security of blockchains to mobile devices? And of course, the end goal here is a very noble one of empowering people all over the freaking planet to have this technology in their hands, and not just people that have desktop machines. So C Labs, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe you guys are sort of a subsidiary, or you're with Cello. But yes, Barbara, Jarrell, and Yes have a ton to talk about here, so I'll throw it over to them.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kent. Can everybody hear me all right? I'm gonna assume yes. Yeah, so as Kent was saying, like our premise here is make it mobile or else. And the or else isn't meant to be like a threat or any kind of aggression. It's more about embodying like that existential dread that I think a lot of founders and entrepreneurs find amongst themselves, where they're concerned about getting users and concerned about like, does the market need the product I'm building? Does anything that I'm doing like excite somebody? Does it bring like value to people's lives? And that's what the or else is really meant to embody, is like this dread that maybe people wouldn't use the product. And to get rid of that, I would really encourage everyone to start building for mobile and like see what markets are just already there and existent and ready for your products, for your innovation, and maybe they want to innovate on top of what ideas you have. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So make it mobile or else. I got to click, click, click. So this is me, I'm Jarrell. I am the digital imperialism canary over at C Labs. Next above me on the frame is gonna be, or below me is Barbara, and she's building all the processes just so you can hack them. And then we have Yaz, who's conducting technological symphonies. And for those of you who know what Plumo ceremonies are, you kind of get what he's saying there. And if you don't, he's going to tell you what he means there a little bit later in this presentation. Here's the agenda. We're going to take you all the way from like why our premise is what it is, all the way through like how the ultralight clients work, the governance and stablecoins, and why they are part of this overall strategy. So to start us off, let's just get down to Cello's mission. And Cello's mission is to build a financial system that creates the conditions for prosperity for everyone. And one of the biggest issues like that sounds really like, ooh, wow, that's a really cool, bold, like very Silicon Valley type thing to say. But it actually is very straightforward. One of the biggest conditions for prosperity for everyone is going to be mobile first approaches. The idea of ETH and Bitcoin changing the world is very, very real, and they are doing that. But there's also like this whole community of people that are going to be left out of that if we do not change our intent now and start building systems that have conditions of prosperity for everyone, and that condition is mobile first. So what do we mean here? Well, Web3 needs to break away from its first world assumptions. And I know that sounds like, oh, what do you mean first world assumptions? But one of my favorite computer scientists, I'm sure many of you know him, is Marshall McLuhan. And he says assumptions can also come within the range of prediction and control as soon as it is recognized that the new media of communication in any age, as they penetrate and transform the older, are the source of new assumptions and consequently the cause of change in our objectives. This is to say, really simply, that the assumptions that you have about the way that Web3 interacts with people's lives are built off of the way that you use Web3. They're built off of the ways that you interact with your desktop and your laptop and web apps that are based on Ethereum and or other layer 1 chains. The way that you pay for things with Bitcoin is all usually on laptops and desktops. So that's something that's normal to you. And those are the assumptions you've made around why that workflow works. But for the 5 billion people who are on mobile phones and for the 1 billion people who are unbanked, that's not really the same assumption for them. For them, they would assume that when Bitcoin enters their life, they can do it from a mobile phone because that's all they have. So let's just take Africa for an example to further bolster this point. The percentage of African households with a computer as of 2019 is only 10.7%. Now, that seems okay, 10% of how many? Well, 10% of of that, it's a 7% increase since 2005, and there's 1.216 billion people in Africa. So you've really seen all these efforts by developed worlds and the African nations themselves to bring laptops to their people. It was just really not that effective, because in essence, 100 million laptops over about 15 years isn't really a success. But you compare that to now, where we have 650 million mobile users in Africa and 250 million of them are smartphones in just about 5 years, there's a definitive difference in the way that these people have leapfrogged the traditional tech of Western governments, Western organizations. And I don't believe that we should be punishing them for leapfrogging the need for desktops and laptops. We should be building for them, because in essence, the future is mobile for all of us. We all say that, but like their present is mobile. And for many of them in like the Gen Z generation of Africa and Latin America, their past has always been mobile. All they've ever really known is mobile infrastructure. So why aren't we building for this? Why would we stop short of really pushing like cloud identity infrastructure? Why would we not focus on that? It might be because we have assumptions that those markets aren't really that big, that there isn't like DeFi that could be used for those types of people, that there isn't really this like understanding and awareness. And that's something that I want us to push past. Let's look at what our actual goals are. Like when we first saw Ethereum take off in 2017, there was a huge idea of banking the unbanked. But from what I'm seeing lately, it appears that most people want to see Ethereum go up to like $5,000, $10,000 per, and that's fine. Nobody's going to fault you for that. But if you really want to see that happen, then you have to also kind of accept that you don't really see Ethereum being the layer one that banks the unbanked. Like that's just not feasible with the way that that structure is set up. Now, from where we're sitting at Celo, we wanted to approach, okay, how do we keep fee structures low and approachable for these people in these communities, but also how do we like attack also the problem of no formal ID? And for us, what we decided was, hey, if you can have a cell phone, then you can have a bank account. And if you can have a bank account with a cell phone, then you don't have to go through whatever cultural norms there are or whatever hurdles there are in your country to stop you from getting a bank account because you don't have a formal ID. Why not just make a phone number and identification? So some of the people that have taken this initial like call to action and this initial like tech stack and said, okay, well, let me try and build stuff for my community, are people like Impact Market, who's currently running the largest UBI program in the world. And like, I want to stress that like the UN has attempted to run UBI programs. Like really big organizations that are NGOs and internationally funded and involved have attempted to do UBI programs to whole communities. There's ones that were going on in East Africa and Jordan, where they were helping refugees pay for groceries through like cell phones that were attached to like stipends. But that UBI system was very small and it didn't really last for very long. It was more about short-term comfort in the migratory process. What we have with Impact Market is people who, and I'm sure like many of you have heard UBI arguments from people like Andrew Yang and said, okay, well, let's not wait around for politicians and political power to allow us to make a UBI platform. Let's take a mobile first layer one blockchain and let's build on it to create a cell phone distribution network that is just distributing a daily UBI in CUSD, which is Celo's native programmatic stablecoin. So just essentially divvying out stablecoins to people all around West Africa and South America. And it's over 10,000 people, 10,000 users strong, many of which don't even realize they're using crypto or using a blockchain at all. It just appears to them like a Venmo app that is giving them a daily UBI. And that's the goal. The goal isn't to like bring everybody into the crypto consciousness and blockchain. The goal is to actually affect real people's lives every day on the ground and create a market that serves them. And people who are doing that would be like Impact Market or Moolah, which is basically Celo's version of Uniswap, and creating that exchange for people and creating and onboarding people in this idea of asset collection, and more importantly, daily savings. And then we have people like Paychant, who, if you're a vendor in one of these developing nations, you want to be able to accept Celo, or you want to be able to like just start like overhauling your website to accept crypto. Paychant's the people who have really done that for all these areas like Latin America or our African continent. And specifically with Celo, like it's a one-click button that they've now incorporated, that people can now build mobile apps for their market or for their vendor, and then also incorporate a mobile payment option in it, still in cryptocurrency, which is huge for a lot of people, especially since the fees are remaining low. So the idea being, how do these projects like Impact Market or Paychan, which you see there on the top left, or Moolah Market, who you see in the top center, how did they get where they are in less than a year? Because Celo's only been around since Earth Day last year. So how did they suddenly get 10,000 users? How did they suddenly like create these vendors that wanted to incorporate Celo? Well, the answer is that since they took a mobile first approach, the market was always there. The market has always been there, and people were just waiting. Honestly, if you think about it, really put yourselves in the shoes of these more disenfranchised communities. They've been watching all of you, all of us, like make money off Ethereum. They've been watching this whole zeitgeist on Twitter, getting rich and making each other and making themselves richer, and really just enriching their small community. Of course, there's a desire to be a part of that. Of course, there's a desire to be a part of that growth. And so the second that these people have had access to the tools that allow them to do that, they immediately flocked, and they've jumped on as a user base. And that's just the reality. The reality is that the market is always there and has always been there for mobile. So in order to tell you about what these people did and what developer tools they used to get from zero to market in less than a year, I'm going to hand it over to our developer tooling part of this conversation, the infamous Barbara Liau. And I really encourage you to listen up and hear what she has to say.
Thanks, Jarrell. Yeah, so developing a DApp is a big part of it, right? Like, it's not just enough to have a mission and all this stuff, and we recognize the need for mobile development. But then the question for everyone here is like, how do I join this, right? How do I join this movement for financial inclusion? And at C Labs, financial inclusion includes everyone. And we're at Developer Experience, what we focus on is building that community of developers and designers and doers and dreamers. And we want to make this an experience where you guys can easily build and develop an application and bring that to market. And so one thing to note just really quick is like, probably a question that you have is, why not just build on Ethereum or another existing blockchain? Yep, this slide, thanks, Jarrell. But in order to achieve that goal of financial inclusion, we have to rebuild everything from the bottom up with mobile first in mind. There's a lot of design decisions and trade-offs that you have to make. You have to have like lightweight clients, contracts to support that. You have to be able to settle transactions quickly, as well as not have to pay exorbitant fees in order to send small amounts. And so everything needs to be rebuilt from the bottom up to do that. Next slide. So, but even though Ethereum isn't the chain for building mobile first apps, Celo wouldn't be here without it. Celo is, is indebted to the vision and progress and community of Ethereum. And it does have shared ancestry with Ethereum. It's EVM compatible. And because of that, building on Celo is very similar to building on Ethereum. There are some key differences, but for the most part, if you're familiar with Ethereum, you can take those developer skills and you can pretty much develop on Celo as you would developing on Ethereum. Next slide. So approachability is a key part of the developer experience. So we want you to be able to get up and running with as little friction as possible and using as many tools and skills that you currently have. Next slide. So one comparison I want you to kind of think about that I like is this idea of nails and screws. If anyone has ever built anything, they have a very similar function. They're going to hold something together, but they are different. You could try to use a hammer on screws, but I mean, it's not really going to work that well. So we need to kind of look at them just a little bit differently. So the tools that we use are slightly different. Next slide. So I just want to like do a quick little comparison here of similarities and differences. So, you need a way to view transactions in blockchain data. One Ethereum tool, I know there's several of them, but one that probably everyone's familiar with is EtherScan. And Celo has something similar where you can see on a graphical interface the transactions and blockchain data. There needs to be some sort of wallet, right? How do you sign and send transactions? One tool everyone's familiar with is like MetaMask or Mu, my Ether wallet. And on Celo, we have Celo wallet and Valora. And then this is where it's going to feel very familiar for everyone. It's Truffle. So smart contracts on Celo are written in Solidity, and we use the Truffle development framework. And so you can write your smart contracts as normal, and all that part's going to feel familiar. We do have a Ganache fork, and that is going to show like there's some differences. Key differences are going to be with the transactions. Celo does have 3 additional fields, and so we needed to create tools and like fork them and to compensate for those differences. And then we have a couple too that I'll talk a little bit more about, but hopefully this gives you a good overview of, oh, hey, like I know most of this stuff, right? Like I can get started pretty quickly. I don't have to relearn a new language. I don't have to learn another framework. Just, you know, at least on like the majority of the smart contract side. And even Contract Kit. So Contract Kit actually wraps an instance of Web3. But we do have some plans, if you want to check out our GitHub, to hopefully to allow you to either do that with like Web3 or Ethers.js. But what Contract Kit allows you to do is allows you to connect to nodes and access a Web3 object to interact with the nodes JSON RPC API. So next slide. Yeah, so this one, it should feel really familiar. It's going to compensate. It's going to allow you to send transactions and take care of those extra fields. It's a very simple like interface. It also allows you to access utilities in Otis. Otis stands for Oblivious Decentralized Identifier Service, and that's what allows us to like map contract address to phone numbers. And then it also provides methods for you to send and sign transactions. Next slide. So the one that's probably going to be new for everyone is DAppKit. DAppKit enables dApps to request and send transactions through deep links. And this is really cool because when you're on your mobile phone, you're able to like click on a link and on your dApp, and then it's going to take you to the wallet, and then where you can approve the transaction, and then it'll take you back. DAppKit was built, so it's just a lightweight set of functions. It's built in TypeScript. Right now, it's currently built with Expo, which is a React Native framework, but we do have plans to make this framework agnostic so that you can use the framework of your choice. And this just allows for easy signing. So if you're familiar with like React Native, this is going to be, it's going to feel really familiar because using Expo. And next slide. So then the question is, what happens when you build your app? It's like, sweet, I have these tools, I have my app, and we want to be here for you from like the whole journey, right? It's not enough just to build something. You have to get it out. You need to get it to your hands of users. And so how do you get to that part? From a very like self-serve part, we have a series of online engineering tech talks. This is just, we talk a lot about different things. There's deep dives into proof of stake, stability mechanisms. There's several series that I've done that will take you from building your dApp all the way to porting an Ethereum dApp to Celo. And you can check those out on our YouTube. You can Google Celo Tech Talks. And then we also have Celo Foundation grants. And this is an open program that supports projects committed to Celo's mission of building a financial system. And this includes like if you want to build tooling, if you want to build, we have a couple different things for like wallets or governance UIs, just anything that contributes to the system. And then we also have Celo Camp. So this is really great if you like, you know what you want to do, you want to get to market. This is an eight-week program. You're going to go through a curriculum. It includes mentorship, exclusive network events, and we're currently the registration open for the next batch until March 23rd, I believe. And that's a great way to really like accelerate your project and get it to market. Next slide. And so this is just a quote from Sergey Kiyama. The Dunya Pay, it's a full service, inexpensive banking experience. It's built for Africa's booming digital generation. And so we're really excited to support more projects like this that will help reach like a global community. And you know, we want it to be people, wherever you are, you know your community best. And so you can build the dApps that are going to meet the needs of your community. Next slide. And so we, I just want to do a shout out. If you're like, sweet, how do I like contribute and participate? I want to build dApps, but I also want to like build on Celo. We have a really great Make It Mobile hackathon coming up. It's February 27th to April 7th. And this is going to be done alongside with Gitcoin. And so we really hope to see you there. Maybe even like take the cool stuff that you do here and use it for the next hackathon. And similar to like EIPs, Celo also has Celo improvement proposals. So if you want to get involved describing the standards for the Celo platform, which includes like course protocol specifications, contract standards, you can check it out on GitHub. That also focuses on, you could also like submit Celo governance proposals. And so like Jarrell mentioned again, like we're working on making Celo, developing Celo for everyone. And so we want to hear from you. Like the developer experience is huge for us. So if you see something that is wrong, please let us know. If you want to see like improvements, we're trying to like make our tools easier to use, optimize it, reduce bundle sizes, because we know that the way that we get inclusion is you have to make it easy for developers too. So that you don't need like some monstrous computer just to get up running and like work on the development stuff. And yeah, so again, I encourage you to get involved and here to talk to us more about how to get involved on the core innovations and what we're doing there is Yaz.
Thanks, Barbs. Yeah, so I'm going to go over core innovation. I don't believe we have that much time left, so I'll try to wrap it up really quickly. Joelle, next slide, please. All right, so at the high level, Celo is a proof-of-stake network. So what makes it function and move forward, block generation and all that, is the validator. Validators are the essential for Celo's mission, and they're really important to have a functioning network and stuff. And our validator community is one of the most essential communities in Celo. Next slide, please. We also have interoperability. We're bringing over TB2C to Celo. We also have bridges thanks to the Suma team joining Celo. We also have a plan, Project Celo Cosmos Bridge, and we have many more to come. Next slide, please. So this week we have the new round of the Plumo $0 snark ceremony. It's like we want to use it to build an ultralight client, and we also have an AMA at ETHDenver at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on this Wednesday, with Anna Rose and James Westwich joining us. So please do join this ceremony. Next slide, please. Essentially, at the core level, we have a governance system like Barbara went over. There's a lot of community-focused initiative, and we also focus on improving the protocol. Other things within the protocol is we have the Celo Reserve, which has Celo governance token, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and DAI in the reserve. And it allows us to issue stable coins like Celo USD, and coming soon, we have Celo Euro, which is really exciting for us. Next slide, please. Yeah, and we wanted to thank you for participating in our talk. Be sure to check out our community on Discord, participate in our hackathon. We have a lot of cool bounties that might be interesting to you. We're available on Discord and Twitter, so hit us up, and thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for listening to this, and for I'm loving the comments I'm seeing. Thanks for being open to what we're saying. Feel free to visit our booth. I'm going to link the registration page for our Make It Mobile Hackathon, February 25th. And so feel free to visit our booth inside the virtual castle and link up, or just visit our Gitcoin page and join our tribe, because we're going to be putting up quite a few thousands of dollars for that hackathon, and we'd love to see what talent comes out for it, because I think this is a message that pretty much everyone in the Web3 space can get behind. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Yaz, Jarrell, and Barbara, appreciate it.
No problem.
It's
Thank
cool
you.
to hear what you guys are up to, and everybody has this in crypto has this shared vision of putting crypto in the hands of billions. And I sort of think the way it's going to play out is instead of having one master blockchain, we're going to have tons of projects that are connected to each other via trustless pegs. There's going to be a lot of interesting building and experimentation going on, and some with very specific use cases in mind, like Celo has with the mobile clients and mobile UX. So keep an eye on them. It's going to be interesting to see how that all evolves.